No one expected this, and what has been a fantastic season for the Leafs in general. One particular player has shined above the rest, and a recent statistic has dropped. We're doing some crazy information surrounding John Tavares, which opens up some big questions about his future. We're going to break down those rumors and reports and discuss what it means going forward, as well as break down an interesting update surrounding Jake McCabe. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. The Leafs, of course, play on Saturday, a couple of days off now, so we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. There's a lot to go over today, obviously. There's a lot of conversations happening about the Leafs' future with John Tavares, Mitch Marner, all these different players, even Matthew Knies after a great game yesterday. But one player we got to dive into is John Tavares, and he's coming off of one of the best months, the best month in the NHL for any player, let alone a 34-year-old who wasn't expected to be as good as he is this season. And we're going to talk about it a little bit and also discuss what it means going forward for his future. So with his goal last night, John Tavares now leads the NHL with 15 goals since the Four Nations face-off, passing Wyatt Johnston. His 14 goals over his last 16 games are also a career high. And you look since the Four Nations face-off, he's put up 15 goals, 25 points. He leads the NHL, and it opens up some very big questions surrounding his future as well to dive into. But I want to get your thoughts on this. He's been one of the reasons, and probably the reason, that the Leafs were so good over the past couple weeks, but also this season in general.
Yeah, and they've been playing really well over the last couple of weeks. And the reason that, it was doom and gloom for a little bit there is because of the teams that they were losing to. Obviously, they lost to Nashville, they lost to San Jose. Leaf fans don't like to see that. They would like the Leafs to beat those teams, right? But still, John Tavares is having a great, not only last month of March, like statistically one of the best in the NHL, and for his career, right? Like he had a career high in that month. So, I mean, he's playing fantastic and at the right time. Obviously, he's had a great year all year. He's missed some time due to injury, but heading into the most important time of the year, this guy is firing on all cylinders, and you like to see that. And in every statistical part of his game right now, he is playing some of the best hockey that we've seen him play. And the fact that he's doing it in year 7 of this contract, I don't know how many people could have said that they would have expected that. He's still worth the money that he's signed to right now. He's not going to get that money in his next contract, but the fact that he is playing like this in a contract year is a little bit funny because obviously players tend to do that. But again, he's just doing his thing. And I mean, he has 15 goals in his last 20 games. Since the Four Nations, like you mentioned, he's putting up some crazy stats. Something that's not even mentioned or anyone's talking about is, he's having the 4th best year of his career in the faceoff dot as well. Like he's having a fantastic season. He's almost at 60% on the year, which is insane. So just another thing that he can add to his repertoire. And I mean, he's having a fantastic season. And I want to see if it translates to the playoffs. He's doing a lot of things like winning puck battles and plays along the boards that we saw even last night too that will translate to the playoffs. So I feel pretty good. And again, him getting the C off his chest has unlocked this new level of John Tavares that we haven't seen in quite some time, maybe since his first year as a Toronto Maple Leaf, because there is pressure that comes with being with the captaincy, being the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and looks like giving that over to Austin Matthews has relieved some pressure, but still, he's been a great player the whole time he's been here. But this year, the fact that he's doing it at this age in this year of the contract, he's been absolutely unbelievable.
And he spoke out on those playoffs that you mentioned. He said it's a long grind. It's a special thing to play for the Stanley Cup. We're excited to have the opportunity again, earn our ticket there, and continue to work to finish as high as we can and make the most of the opportunity. And obviously, you look at the team's record since the Four Nations break, but of course, in the games where John Tavares over the past, however many games it's been, 15 goals over the past 20 or so games. It's an unbelievable stat. And Craig Berube spoke out and praised John Tavares a little bit. As a coach, you love a player like that. Professionalism and the mindset he has day in and day out. He's almost like having another coach around. The preparation daily never changes. And that's something that is the intangibles like that, I think, is another reason that the Leafs are going to look to bring him back at a fairly reasonable contract. And let's touch on that a little bit, what it looks like going forward. Because we've had videos on it, but the more that he scores, yesterday's high stakes game against the Florida Panthers in not the big stage, but a pretty big stage for a regular season game, John Tavares still needs to be extended in this offseason. And with each goal, each passing day, it seems that the number is going higher and higher. We've heard some rumblings about 7 million, 8 million, all these different things. And let's not forget, in yesterday's game, Matthew Knies as well had that breakaway goal. People want to pay him. The Leafs are going to be forced into a really impossible decision here as it pertains to who they bring back. I think it's going to be Tavares and Knies, but even Mitchell Marner's been playing great hockey. The implications on this playoff run as it pertains to the future of these 3 players and 2 of the core 4 is going to be massive. And John Tavares having this great month and great season makes things a little bit more difficult for Brad Treliving.
This year's playoffs, everything depends on this year's playoffs, right? We said that in the past, but for real this time with Mitch Marner being a free agent, if we get more of the same, there will be changes. There absolutely will be changes, and I do wonder if they even consider bringing back John Tavares, right? Because something has to change. But if he does play well and maybe they make it a little bit deeper in the playoffs, then obviously I think that's a no-brainer to bring him back. And in terms of the contract, we've been talking a lot about it the last couple of weeks, and you know. Steven Stamkos makes $8 million right now on the contract that he just signed. And I would rather have John Tavares than Steven Stamkos at this point in time, right? Especially with what Steven Stamkos is doing with the Nashville Predators, which is not much. So I don't think he's going to get 8 million. I think he's going to take a bit of a discount. He should probably be making 8 million. Like if he was to sign somewhere else, if he was on the open market, maybe 8 or 9 million, because he still is worth that, right? Even at his age. But I think he's going to take a bit of a discount to stay with the team. $6 to $7 million, something like that. I really feel like it's going to come in around there, and I think that's fair. And I just hope that the years are respectable. I don't want him to sign like a 7-year contract again where he's not going to finish it. I just hope it's something respectable where it's 3 or 4 years where maybe in the last year you start to go, okay, now he's kind of declining, right? But the way he's playing right now, I don't think he's going to slow down in the next 2 years. So maybe like a 3 to 4 year contract is still fine, right? The Leafs are still in the mix, and with their window to win a cup. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but everything depends on this year's playoffs. So hopefully they get it through their heads that, things have to change this year.
Yeah, probably extend him with a contract that lines up with Chris Tanev and OEL's window that the Leafs have, specifically with Tanev and the goaltending as well. Obviously, Joseph Wall starting his 3-year extension next year. And speaking of goaltending, John Tavares spoke on Anthony Stolarz. He got a little bit of a laid-back personality, but his intensity once he puts his pads on is pretty incredible. The way he's barking, talking out there into the game. It is interesting. You look at, compared to some of the other players, with his goal tonight, Tavares pulled ahead of Wyatt Johnson. I mean, 14 goals since the Four Nations break. You look at, Alex Tuch, Tage Thompson, Jason Robertson. Like, these are high-level players. Of course, Alex Ovechkin down there. The fact that he's doing this, something that's not talked about enough is how important this is going to become playoff times. We haven't really seen this in a few years. This is one of his best seasons in the past half decade. Rewinding the clock back to prime John Tavares at the start of his Leafs tenure and even in his Islanders tenure. If that can translate to the postseason, that's another layer that we haven't seen over the past 5 years of disappointment with this team, really since 2016, but specifically over the past little bit. You now translate that to the playoffs, things will look very good. But speaking of the playoffs a little bit, you look at the updated Atlantic Division standings. The Leafs are now 3 points ahead of the Lightning, and of course, tied with, they're not tied, they are 4 points now ahead of the Panthers. They were tied just a couple days ago. And Jake McCabe is what everybody is worried about here. And John Tavares obviously is very important. Jake McCabe is equally as important, you could argue, to that blue line. And there are no immediate injury updates from Craig Berube on David Kampf and Jake McCabe. David Kampf as well went down with an injury. This is, we'll probably have an update tomorrow that we'll bring to you, but following the game, they didn't have an immediate update. There's been some rumblings, whether it's concussion protocols, whether that's something with his shoulder. We obviously know that Jake McCabe got hit pretty rough there at the end. I think it was by Sam Bennett. Bit of a dirty play, an unnecessary play, I guess, to say the least. What are your thoughts on this? We need Jake McCabe and David Kampf to be healthy, specifically Jake McCabe.
Yeah, Jake McCabe's been such a big part of this team all season. I think it was Carter Verhaeghe that hit him from behind last night, and obviously he bumped into the ref in a weird play like a couple minutes before that, so he was getting banged up. He was blocking shots, the stuff that he normally does. So hopefully he's okay. We'll probably get an update tomorrow. I don't even think they're skating today, probably a day off because obviously you got the game coming up on Saturday as well. So we'll probably get some type of an update. I'm not too worried about it. McCabe's at least. The fact that, David Kampf left the game, didn't return with quite some time left in the game is a little more concerning. He's been a big part of this team, and it's going to be interesting to see what the update is on him and who fills in because that didn't look good, right? So we'll see what happens there. But in terms of Jake McCabe, I'm staying optimistic. I don't think it's anything crazy. Maybe they pulled him just to be, cautious with like a minute left, less than a minute left in the game. So I'm hoping it's just that, but I'm sure we're going to get an update tomorrow when they skate.
And that was, of course, he left the game with a minute and 30 left or so. And it's going to be interesting because the blue line has been very good. Chris Tanev, Jake McCabe, and even Riley and Carlo have been playing a lot better as of late with their expected goal percentage. That'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. We're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. Hopefully, the blue line gets healthy. Riley Carlo continue that up. Keep you guys up to date.